Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him.
As birds flying, so will the Lord of hosts defend Jerusalem. Defending also, he will deliver it, and passing over, he will preserve it.
For as the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many.
Shalom, brothers and sisters. This is your brother Yahawashi. I want to give all glory and praises to our Heavenly Father Yahweh. We do so in the name of our Lord and Savior, Yahawashi. Grace and mercy be abound to the hopeful elect scattered throughout the four corners of the earth that are waiting on the second coming of our Lord and Savior, Yahawashi Mashiach. No, it's been a while. We've actually been having some Sabbath lessons concerning what's been going on. A lot of us have actually been very busy, pretty much working, some of us night and day. So I know that the last time that we were here, we were speaking on some of the things that were going on globally in regards to, the war in Iran, and also, what's going on with the global economy. And one of the things that has been happening over the last, few weeks has been, certain discussions concerning the name with, the rise of, like we talked about in time past, of these false prophets. Okay. And what these false prophets are basically promoting in regards to, the teachings of, whether or not the name of the Lord is this or that. Just things that I warn brothers about. And I think it's very important that, that's also kind of discussed as part of this issue as well. Because as you look in the title, what drives the rulers of the earth? Okay. And in the picture that you're seeing, I have what's known as the Eye of Providence. Okay. Now I am doing this via mobile. Unfortunately, I've had issues with my internet, which is the reason why I wasn't able to get some stuff going. And I'm looking to rectify it so that I hadn't had time to go to the store because I've been working 6 days a week. And of course, on the Sabbath, not able to, buy and sell. But luckily, we do have another alternative, which is mobile, and hopefully it's working well. Let me know if y'all can hear me in the chat. Let me see if I could open this up. I'll have to look into, let me try my other phone. Let's see if it's working, if I can hear myself. Give y'all some time to come in, at least those who they may be listening. Okay. Listening. Okay, so I'm checking I'm able to actually hear myself on my other device. So it looks like we're good to go there. Okay. So it looks like we don't have a problem with that. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to read a precept. This is 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 10. For the love of money is the root of all evil. Okay. So for the love of money is the root of all evil. Which while some coveted after, they have erred from the faith and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. Now, this is a warning to those, to the believers. Okay. But the first part is true across the board among all nations, okay? Whether they are Israelites or not, whether they are of the faith or not. This is a very big motivating factor. And, this is something that you have to understand when you look back from the beginning, because many things, motivations of evil and wickedness among men is predicated on the love of money. Now, I did a lesson on the love of money, making sure you understand it's not just talking about paper currency, gold and silver. It's just talking about the accumulation of wealth. And a lot of times the covetousness that is within, man, if they don't check it, it can drive them to take wicked, evil steps towards securing things. Okay, because remember, money answereth all things. There's a power that comes with having wealth, access to resources. And when we look over the last 500 years, you've actually seen the highest forms of wickedness being perpetuated on the earth through the desire and drive for, the accumulation of wealth. Okay, and even when you look at going back into the garden, the things that motivated the events that occurred in the garden has to do with accumulation of wealth, or even remember that one thing that can help you is also acquisition of a position of dominance, hierarchy over another, which then gives you access to the human capital of a person, okay, which would be their servitude, meaning their ability to control a person to make them do as you want them to do. See, this is the thing that when you start looking at wealth accumulation, it's not just the resources, it's not just what I mean by that, the natural resources, or the finished goods, right? Such as cars, homes, okay, clothing. Those are all finished products that come from the natural resource, the earth, right? So we know what we talked about in past, we talked about the motivation of, the accumulation of power over the control of the energy resource, okay, which has to do with maintaining leverage and dominance over the souls of men, okay, and thereby being able to control them as well. See, when we look at the world ruled by the elites. The elites has a global government. They call it a shadow government. But what is a government? A government is simply a compound word of mind control. Okay, to govern is to control. Meant is the mind. That's why it tells you in the Bible, for the leaders of the people cause them to err. Why? Because the leaders govern the people, and therefore they control their minds, or they influence their minds. Okay, and if you have your leaders that are telling you that this is what's allowed or not, remember, leadership is a position of power, thereby it's a position of influence, and it thereby controls the direction of the masses. Okay, and that's why you see things in the Bible written, thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil. Okay, because many times the evil is driven by one person that has a lot of power or influence, and then the masses will follow them, like sheep to their own slaughter. And this is something you always got to check in the world that you're in, because you could see in various places where people are forced to accept a narrative or forced to accept something as bad or good. And you'll actually, when you sit down with people in various settings and various debate settings, you'll see that when you challenge their position, you realize they don't have no knowledge of what they're supporting. They're simply supporting it because somebody else with power or influence told them to. And this is the world that we're in. Okay, we're in this world. And, I've talked about it for years about how, the younger generation is a lot more deceived and unable to critically think past what they're seeing. And they're even being steered into believing that they are being enlightened by pursuing and believing in certain things politically or socially. And they view that as going against the grain when they're actually walking right into the direction of what the elites want. Okay. And I'm going to give you an example of that. Okay. And mind you, we're in a world where technology is like needed for certain aspects of survival and day-to-day tasks. Okay. But technology is also being wielded as a means to control. Now, an example of that is going to be like vehicles. Now, we talked about how the New World Order or the United Nations has these different initiatives of wanting to control the amount of pollution in the earth. This is why they started promoting, the issues with coming to, talking about pollution, talking about whether or not people should start using other forms of transportation. Well, it's not that they really care about the environment, because we know that they're the ones that spoiled the earth, right? They're the ones that created things like plastics and then basically made it to where it was readily available. And then they polluted places like the ocean. They drilled offshore. They drilled in creeks. They drilled in river beds, deltas, and polluted and contaminated other people's livelihood and the livelihood of that was in those waters, right? So these same people, they don't really care about that. But why are they going to war in the Middle East? Why are they always there? Because they understand that in the world and system that they created, that one of the things that they have to control is going to be energy. They want to control energy. They want to control food. Okay, if you control energy and food production, you can thereby control the masses of the earth, because now you have the ability to keep them from being able to be warm in the winter, okay, cool in the summer. Also, a lot of energy, like such as a lot of things such as water that people receive, is actually controlled by various energy. Okay, meaning that there's actually an energy supply that brings water to different cities around the world, wherever you're at. Right. You have also um, the issue with energy that comes with transportation. So if you want to get goods across, different cities, towns, then you're going to need transportation of those goods. Okay. So all these things are like different things that they can control that can make people or the masses bend to their will. Because ultimately the driving thing that drives the actual elite is even going beyond the money. They want to control your soul. They want slaves, because for them, they've already controlled a lot of the means of production. They have all kind of ways that they've even controlled movement, right? Freedom of movement is controlled by passports. You can't go out of the country, and certain countries have better passports than others. We know for the reason why. So back in the ancient world, it was a lot easier for you to move around. It was a lot easier for you to do certain things. But what they've done over time is they've evolved to say, you need passports, and now we have this, you know, uh, flights. We're going to control who can fly where. They have what's called no-fly zones. You could do blockades. All these things is what they're doing to control ultimately to add to the control of the masses that they want to control. So this is one of the things that we have to kind of understand. And how are they going to do this? Well, you see there the eye of providence. Okay. That is known as the all-seeing eye. Okay. That particular image is very very much what you would consider an occultic image. Okay. It's on your dollar bill. And it's something that the elites wholeheartedly believe in. Okay. They want to be like the Most High. They want to be, uh, have the omnipresence of the Most High, right? By being able to surveil every being on the earth. Okay. And I'm going to read this real quick. I just did a little search on the being. The meaning of the eye of providence symbolizes divine watchfulness, guidance, and the omnipresence of God, often depicted as an eye within a triangle surrounded by rays of light. Okay. So when you go into the scriptures, okay, and let's get it real quick because it's actually in one of Paul's letters. So we're going to go to Second Thessalonians chapter 2, and we'll start at verse 3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. Okay, it's an actual man. Okay, and it's not how you think that the Christian church has been teaching you. Who opposes and exalted himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he, as God, sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Okay, we know that that man, the son of perdition, is Esau Edom. Okay, we'll get another precept. We'll go back to that one because I want to get another version. So we'll go to the book of Obadiah, or actually no, we'll go to the book of Malachi instead. So we go to the book of Malachi, chapter 1. We'll start at verse 2. I have loved you, said the Lord, yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother? Saith the Lord, yet I loved Jacob, and I hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we shall return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people of against whom the Lord hath indignation forever. Okay, so there are those people. Now we'll get another one as well. Another Old Testament scripture, which I think we used it back then, back in one of the other lessons, probably a couple of months ago. So this is Habakkuk chapter 2, and we'll just start at verse 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. Because his soul within it, which is lifted up, is not upright in him, but the just shall live by faith. Yea, also because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all peoples. Okay, so the vision for a appointed time was that there would be a man that would rise up that would gather to themselves all nations, okay, and heapeth unto him all peoples. Well, who led the United Nations? Who led the League of Nations? Okay, Esau, Edom. They're the ones in which all the nations go to. This is the reason why when they created the different fiat currency banking systems, as you know, you can look up and document how banking or international banking has changed the world, okay? And how they created all these different fiat currency systems after they colonized the earth. They plundered the resources. They set up a fiat currency system. They set up these private banking institutions. They set up these central banks in which these other countries will have to do trade with. Okay, and through that, they made sure that their currency was the strongest, and therefore a lot of nations had to bow down to those systems for survival. Okay, and as they were doing that, these different nations around the world had to eventually get to the point where they were locked into these various trade deals based on these currencies, primarily now the petrodollar, right? You can look up the removal of the gold standard under Nixon, the Bretton Woods Agreement, okay, and the petrodollar. And that's what this battle is over, because of the wealth of these elites is tied to that. And the wealth of these other nations is tied to it as well. It's pegged to it. So all the nations that initially collaborated them, okay, are finding themselves in a situation where they want to rebel against them. Okay, and this is one of the reasons why some of these other nations, particularly like a China, is trying to stay ahead by creating their own system of surveillance. You know, they have their own satellites that they use. They also have a surveillance state as well. So they're trying to keep in pace with Esau Edom to try and truncate their system, or to at least have a counterbalance to their system so they're not caught up in that same web. Okay. And this is partly causing the tension, because at the end of the day, um, nations, if you look at historically, always end up rebelling against those that they are dominating them. So whenever an empire comes into power, rules the known world or their territory, eventually somebody's going to come by to knock them down. Okay. And it's a natural thing. Now, the very interesting thing is that when you look back at the book of Genesis, it goes into the table of nations. And also, you can recall that the different nations were given their own territories. But what happens over time is that nations begin to want to dominate other nations, because why? They're pursuing wealth, resources. Okay, the love of money is the root of all evil. So even when people may have enough, there's an inclination, or you could say an actual motivation within sectors of people, or within all these nations, where they'll desire to have riches. And a lot of times, in order to get to a higher level, you have to conquer other people. You have to start imposing taxes or tribute or polls upon them. As you've seen, even when you read in the book of the Gospel according to Luke, you see that Caesar went about and taxed the nations. Let me go ahead and get that real quick, because kind of freestyling this. I didn't have precepts prepared, just freestyling. You go into the book of Luke, chapter 2 and verse 1. And it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that the world should be taxed. And this taxing was first made when Cyrenius was governor of Syria. And all went to be taxed, every one in his own city. Okay, so they had to be taxed. They had to go and get taxed. And it tells you in the NLT in verse 2 that this was the first census taken when Cyrenius or Quirinius was governor of Syria. Okay, so that's the reason why they had to go back, because they had to go back, declare their home, where they're from, their hometown. And this was a decree. A decree means this is a law that was passed. A decree means you got to do this. You better do this. Okay. That's why when you look into verse 4, and Joseph went up from Galilee out of the city of Nazareth into Judea unto the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and lineage of David, to be taxed with Mary, his espoused wife, being great with child. So he had to go and declare who he was, his name, his house, his family, and pay a tax. And it was documented under the Romans. Now, this is the same thing that they're doing now. See, back then, they don't have the technology, but now they have the systems. Remember, we've talked about it in time past, such as like the digital ID system. The digital ID system will also be tied to what? The CBDC, the central bank digital currency. Okay. And these things that are being created are for methods of control of the masses. Okay. Basically the intent is for them to create a system by which you cannot survive outside of it. And if you go up against the system, they're going to be able to track you and eliminate you. Okay. And that's power. This is beyond just them stacking up wealth, which again, their wealth is basically monopoly money at this point, because it's not based off of gold or silver. It's not a just weight. Okay. How's a piece of paper coming from one country going to determine the value of goods in another country when gold and silver wasn't like that? Okay. A lot of times it's based on supply and demand. Of course, if you're in a place where there's less of a particular resource, that particular good is going to go up in value because there's scarcity. These are things that you're able to understand in economically. But how does you explain to somebody where a country that has numerous natural resources, that their currency is less than another country that lacks those resources? When they come out with these monopoly money and you go and you use it in another country, it's higher than theirs because this is the system thereby they have created. Okay. And it's done to control. Now, let me, I'm actually, there's a scripture I'll bring out probably later. It'll probably be a closing scripture. So let's get this real quick. Now, remember, we read that Habakkuk about how they heapeth on themselves all people, right? Now, I'm going to go to Revelation chapter 18. Okay. And this is after, this is when Babylon was fallen, and it tells you, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but this is coming in in the future. So we'll read what was in this place. Okay. So this is Revelation chapter 18, verse 11. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise any more, the merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all thine wood and all manner vessels of ivory and all manner vessels of most precious wood and of brass and iron and marble and cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beasts and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and souls of men. Okay. So we're talking about slaves and souls of men, all these things, including the souls of men. So the souls of men were purchased. Okay. And this is something that a lot of people don't understand, is that the world that we're in is a place in which people can sell their souls for the desires of their own heart. Okay. And we know that the desires of one's own heart is mainly fulfilled through what? Wealth accumulation. Okay. Because they're able to do as thou wilt. Okay. There's only so much that one can do without money. With money, they can do a lot more things. And this is where that power lies. Now, there's a lot of speculation about things such as the digital currency system introducing what's known as a UBI, Universal Basic Income. Okay, but the Universal Basic Income is meant as a mechanism of control. It's kind of like being a child on allowance. You know that if you're getting allowance every week, that you can lose that allowance if you don't do what your parents say. Okay, so this is a rewards punishment system. They're treating you like an animal at that point, because if they're giving you a universal basic income, you better believe that there's stipulations tied to that. There's probably going to have to be certain things that you're going to have to do in order to maintain it. Okay, remember also that the digital currency is programmable, which means that you can only access or purchase certain things at certain times. This is the world that they're envisioning. Okay, and it's going to be all under what? Their surveillance state. Okay, because what's motivating the elite is deeper than just the money that you and I think is important. They want complete power over the souls of men. Okay, they want to be able to be like the Most High. It's very important for us to understand. Okay, let me see if we could go back to no, it's funny. Okay, I think there's a back button. Okay, allows you to go back. Yeah, so When I go back to Second Thessalonians, I want to get that in the NLT. Verse 3. This is in the NLT, Second Thessalonians chapter 2. Don't be fooled but by what they say, for that day will not come until there is a great rebellion against God and the man of lawlessness is revealed. Okay, so great rebellion is the ungodliness coming upon the earth. Remember in Second Esdras that Esdras was told that more wickedness will come before the end. That the end will even be that what was told to him was that as wicked as you think it is now, it will be more wicked later, because the fruit of the seed of the root of sin, of the seed that came out from the sin of rebellion from Adam, was still being made manifest among men. Okay, and what is happening now is we're seeing the latter stages of wickedness, of ungodliness upon the earth. Okay, this is why when you go into the book of Revelation, it tells you about how the people, the masses, the people did not repent from their wickedness. Okay, and the plagues came upon them, and they had not repented from all the wickedness they had done. When you look at a smaller scale, right, you can go back to like Sodom and Gomorrah, and see what was going on there and how they were fully bent into that wickedness. You could go back into what was happening in the land of Canaan, where they were doing all kind of abominations, and therefore they were to be conquered by the children of Israel. Okay, because judgment had came upon them for all the wickedness. If you remember that Abraham was told, okay, by the Most High that the iniquity of the Amorites had not yet been full to the full. Okay, and he'll come back in another season to judge their iniquity. Well, guess what? The world is filled with iniquity. Okay, and it's being propagated, and now it's to the point where people don't even know their right from their left no more, especially among our people, especially here in Babylon. Okay, everything that's considered good is now questioned as bad. Everything that's bad is now promoted as good. And the main purveyors of that is the woman, okay, the main vehicle of this, because they are the weaker vessel. They're easily susceptible to being deceived, being given false doctrine, false information, running with it, and then thereby teaching the next generation. There's the reason why they removed the men out the home, because men are more skillful and more adept and more keen and more aware of being able to sniff out something that's not right and stopping it. Okay, but they even took power away from a lot of men, and men don't even have access to their kids a lot of times. These women have the ability to leave, take their kids, and then have their kids indoctrinated into the ways of Babylon. And now you have a generation that is just fully, indoctrinated into the ways of Babylon, that is just completely gone into a complete satanic, socialization at this point. Okay, and where does that come from? From the elites. Okay, who are these elites that are primarily doing this? Esau, Edom. Okay, yeah, they got henchmen, they got people of other nations, but when you examine it, this is one of the things that even a lot of these conservative Christians can't run away from. The elites that they're complaining about and what they're doing is their own people. These Christian Edomites, Christendom, as I like to call them, they don't want to own up to that, to the point where they're trying to find a way to push it on, on the small hats. That's their main deflection. Everything that's wicked on the earth, because they try and put it on Jake, but there's only so far that you can put it on Jake, because Jake don't got power. The elites are the ones that got power. How are you gonna put that on a Jay-Z? Jay-Z is just a henchman. He's just a guy that promotes something that they want. He promotes their agendas that's going to affect his people. But at the end of the day, who's at the very top of that? Who are the elite of the elites? Who are the real people that really control these things? Who are the real movers and shakers, okay, of the earth? Who are the ones that are really making decisions that's affecting the lives of billions on the earth? Esau, Edom. Okay, so we have to make sure that we keep that straight. Okay, so let's see if we can get some more. And bear with me. I know it's hard for us to. For whatever reason, I'm having a hard time being able to put the scriptures up because I'm using my phone right now. So y'all gonna have to just bear with me on that. Hopefully you're able to hear me clearly and able to get these precepts written down. You can also follow our Instagram at the Gospel Yahawashi. Okay. The brother Ramya puts up usually the precepts that we discuss, and he also might add some other ones because sometimes I may not go directly to the particular precept, and he'll add that in there as well. So if you want to get the precepts, you can go there at our Instagram page at the Gospel Yahawashi. Okay. And so what was I going to get into as well? Try to get into this motivation thing. Okay. This person put up, I'm about to see if I could show it on stage. Okay. So this person said, Satan is the one ruler of the earth. The great liar knows how to delegate. Yeah, I do agree with Satan being the primary satanic ruler. He's a satanic ruler. He is the number one of evil. That's why the elites go to him. Okay, so you're correct about that. Because they're not doing this without they're doing this with the help of Satan. Okay. But Satan, if you go back into the gospel accounts, you recall Yahawashi, after being baptized and receiving of the Spirit, he went and fasted 40 days and 40 nights, and he was tempted of the devil, right? And what was promised to him that if he bowed down and worshiped him, he was promised all the kingdoms of the earth. But what are all the kingdoms of the earth include? It includes the resources, okay, the natural resources, the finished goods. But primarily, what is the number one thing that is the ultimate? The people, their souls, the use of their bodies for your purpose. Okay. That's why when you read about the kingdom, how it's going to be built up, you read Isaiah 60, which is the kingdom of heaven on earth. Okay. This is the one in which the elect of Israel will be ruling on earth. What are they going to have access to? Okay. They're going to have, let me go ahead and get that. And what I mean by they, I'm talking about the elect. Okay. When the kingdom of heaven is set up. So what Satan was offering Yahawashi was no different than what he was going to get anyway. Okay. He was just using the desire within Yahawashi to try and tempt him for something that was already going to come to him in the future. Okay. Which was the kingdom that was already promised to him. Okay. And now when you go into Isaiah chapter 60, watch this, Akim. This is Isaiah chapter 60. We'll start at just verse 9. Surely the isles shall wait for me, and the ships of Tarshish first, to bring thy sons from afar, their silver and their gold with them. That's the wealth. That's the manyan. That's the money. Dollar, not the dollar bills, y'all. The real money. You know what I'm saying? I know some of y'all probably may or may not get that, but the money, dollar bills, y'all. Okay. That's not, so that's what they think it is. No, the real money is silver and gold. Okay. This is what the sons, the elect, those that remain, this will be brought with them unto the name of the Lord thy God and to the Holy One of Israel, because he hath glorified thee. And the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls. These are the people. When you get a kingdom, you get it, which is, kingdom of heaven will then be an empire because you'll have imperial power over all the kingdoms of the earth, over all the peoples of the earth, right? And what's going to happen? Though their sons, their people are going to come to build up the walls, and their king shall minister unto thee. Okay, so they're rulers, the same rulers that was billionaires, trillionaires. Okay, they were controllers of industries, royal family lineages, sheiks, emirs, okay, kings, sultans. Okay, all those titles, governors, presidents, prime ministers, executives, okay, all these, whatever titles you want to give to the rulers, okay, bankers, okay, banking cartels, essentially, um, conglomerates, corporate conglomerates. They call them they call them business tycoons. They call them tycoons, things like that. They're going to be the ones that will be ministering, meaning they're going to be your helpers. They're going to be ones, hey, yo, go get me that, hey, bring me this to me, hey, go over there and get my plate. Get that wine over there. I mean, they're going to be a lot of, yes, my Lord. Yes, my Lord. People that was originally ruling over the masses, the billions of people on the earth, going to be turned into ministers, servants. Okay. But this is what they want to do. The thing about it is they can only do it at the carnal level. The kingdom of heaven is going to be ruled through spiritual power. They need carnal things. They need technology to do this. They need all these things. Okay. And it's a tall task, but it's a task that they're trying to fight for. Okay. And it's something that they're believing in. The advances of AI, the advances of, nanotechnology, the microchip supercomputers, essentially, semiconductors, all these things. That's why they have this whole issue over the Taiwan, right? Because Taiwan is, the leader in these chips, right? Which will basically lead or is leading the AI revolution, okay? Which is to create what's known as a technocracy, okay? And basically rule, okay, which will basically be an authoritarian rule by a small cabal, but through the use of technology, okay? And that's the vision that they have. Okay, this is the vision that they have, and they feel like if they execute this vision, that they'll be able to rule over the earth with no problem. Okay, there are other things that they want to do. I'm not going to get into that yet. I just kind of want to paint the picture of what drives the rulers of the earth. Okay, it's not something that is very complicated, but it's motivated by real things. Okay, so let me see if we could pull up some more precepts. Oh, yeah, let's go down. I forgot. Let's go down to verse 11. Therefore, thy gates shall be open continually. They shall not be shut day nor night, that men may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles. What's the forces? Well, we'll read that. We'll read that in the NLT. Verse 11, Isaiah 60, verse 11 in the NLT. Your gates will stay open day and night to receive the wealth of many lands. The kings of the world will be led as captives in a victory procession. Yeah. So, yeah, so essentially what they're planning on doing and setting up there. That's going to be defunct. They're going to take that L. They're going to be led away captives in a victory procession. Victory procession, meaning that if you ever look up what a victory procession is, this is something that's very common in the ancient world. When you win wars, you have a parade. It's a victory procession is basically a victory parade. In the victory parade, you'll show the spoil to the masses that come and celebrate your victory. And among the spoil is who? The slaves, the rulers of the earth. Okay, you bring back their elites and you show the people we got them. You'll show the stuff that you plunder from them. You know what I'm saying? the spoil that you've taken. It's going to be a lot of spoil taken, Akim, a lot of spoil taken. Okay, in the victory procession with Yahawashi present, man. Listen, bro, this stuff that's going to go down when Yahawashi come back is going to be, it is really epic. We're already in the most epic story known to man ever. We're actually acting out an epic story as the underdogs of the earth. No matter how lowly we think we are today, there's a day that comes that if we endure to the end, well, we will be risen up. Okay, we'll be famous. Okay, known. The elect men will be known. You'll get that status, that crown that never fades. What the things that the people in the masses search for, that they want, even the elites, they enjoy that. Okay, but it's hard for them to maintain that. Okay, but this is their motivation. Their motivation is to have ultimate eternal power over the masses. Okay, and the only way that they can figure it out is by going this technology route. Okay, and in their mind, they can see the plan laying out bit by bit. That's why they don't care about the people. Remember that these same people call the masses of people goyim, useful idiots, useless eaters. Okay, there's a movie I recommend that some of y'all watch, the movie called Divergent. Okay, Divergent is a movie that kind of shows you the structure in which they look at a future society. Okay, and they had like a group of people, I believe they were called the undesirables, which had like, they viewed them as useless. They had no particular talent. They really couldn't do anything. They couldn't fend for themselves. So you had to have like the helpers, which had to like kind of help these people like survive. They lived on the streets, they were down bad, but it became a point where they wanted to get rid of them completely. So it's like how they look at things. Look at the movie Elysium is another one. These are all movies that kind of show you some of the psychology of the elite. Okay, this is the reason why you have some of these men that are trying to do some stuff in space, because they want to create that Elysium type of situation where they can just get away from the peasants on the earth. They themselves are also looking for immortality. That's another motivation. Okay, that's the reason why they want to have databases of everybody's the Human Genome Project. They want to have access to organs. Okay, they want to have access to the androchrome, okay, of the babies. All these different things that they believe will enhance their lives. Okay, this even goes into some aspects of Scientology, of trying to find the way through science to achieve some level of of like eternal living. The ability to live so much longer through these various things that they're creating within their pharmaceutical labs. So one of the things they seem is very effective in maintaining their lives is to use the organs of other people. Okay, this is where you have these markets of these organ markets. This is heavy. And mind you, the elites is multi-tiered, Akim. You have like the elites of Edom, who are over all nations, and then you have the elites of the other nations who do business with them, and they also have access to those things or desire those things. Okay, they're in alliances, but their alliance is shaky because at the end of the day, they still have to go to the higher elites. Okay, because there's levels to this. Okay, there's levels. That's why a lot of people don't even understand when they watch like things like Jay-Z. They think Jay-Z is out here making all these decisions. I'm like, dude, he's not that powerful. Like, the dude's worth a couple of $1 billion. If you looked at last time of what the top 5, top 10 richest people on the planet are worth, and those people are just the ones that they could actually look at their wealth via like their stock options and stuff. You ain't even talking about these private banking families. You ain't even talking about like these, investment bankers and, people that really got money that's hidden, offshore type. You know what I'm saying? People that got access to actual land rights with minerals that are yet untapped or have yet to reach their full potential of what their value really is. So a lot of people don't even understand there's like levels to this. And we have to understand this because we can't be fooled by what's out here, what's being presented. Okay, because this is how people get carried away and get caught, not knowing what's going on, and it's too late, right? So let me see if we could get some more. Yeah, get something. I got something. Then you got a couple of more precepts. So let's see. Actually, we'll go to the book of James. Okay. This is the book of James, chapter 5. We'll start at verse 1. Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl, for your misery shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rest of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. Ye have heaped treasure together for the last days. Behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud. Okay? Come on, man. Which is of you kept back by fraud. So their dealings and getting rich was done fraudulently. Okay? Crieth, and the cries of them have reaped, or which have reaped, are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth. Okay? So they're being talked down against. Remember, their motivation of accumulating these riches is not just to be wealthy and go and have yachts and go and be able to be in San Tropez and Cannes and the Maldives and all these different tropical exotic locations, or for them to have a private jet, or for them to have a big mansion or palace somewhere, or have their own private islands like Epstein, where they can invite, their lesser luminaries to do abominable acts with. Okay, they are not just doing that because they're not just getting this wealth or the accumulation of this for the money. They want to control souls. Okay. Why do you think the whole Epstein Island situation was about? Okay. It was about them having stuff on people that they would control, the souls of men. These are the men that sold themselves out, and they understood that if they wanted to maintain what they had to go to these different places and do some of these different things. Okay. And so these people are willing to go there because they're what? They have that internal motivation, that covetousness that's driving them, but similar to the elite. See, a lot of what people think is that the elites are motivated any differently than people even on the common man. No, the difference is they're playing with bigger stakes. Okay. They're playing with a lot bigger things. They're above that level. When you go if you go to Vegas, they got different levels of poker tables, man. You got the one for the common folk and you got one for the big ballers. They're the big ballers. They're still playing the game just like everybody else. They still shooting craps. Okay. They're still playing blackjack. They still playing Texas Hold'em and poker, just like everybody else is playing the same game. The difference is they're playing for a higher stake than you and I. So that's why even we ourselves, when we read 1 Timothy 6 and 10, we still got to check ourselves on what motivates us also. Okay, because even those things can also take us down, just like it's taking them down. The difference is that they don't see anybody taking them down. Okay, because they don't see any opposition, they're more emboldened to do what they're doing. Okay, because they can literally get away with murder. Okay, that's the difference. Now I'm gonna read this in the NLT. This is James chapter 5, and we'll start at verse. Uh, we'll start at verse 3. Your gold and silver are corroded. The very wealth you were counting on will eat away your flesh like fire. This corroded treasure you have hoarded will testify against you on the day of judgment. For listen, hear the cries of the field workers whom ye have cheated of your pay. Isn't this very interesting that the field workers, those that reap down your fields, who is that talking about? Okay, that's talking about the children of Israel, those that had to go into the fields, into the land and reap different things. Okay, and see, there's levels to this. A lot of people don't even know, and this thing didn't just happen in the Western world, as I say, or in the Americas. Okay, this is one of the things about when you read about history of other countries, you have to understand what they had, what was going on in some of these other countries. Okay, some of the same exact things. You can think about Congo. You can think about places like Zimbabwe. You can think about Zambia. Okay, you can actually see pictures. In fact, yesterday I was on Twitter. They were posting different pictures of the backs of the people in these colonies and how their backs were tore up and they were under forced labor. They were enslaved. The pictures of there's a famous picture of a lot of dudes in these Israelite groups have the pictures of different slavery pictures. One of them is like the one where the older brother has his back turned and you see the wounds from the whipping that he had. They're like healed up wounds. The same thing was going on over there. Same thing was going on in various parts of the world. Okay. So people don't even understand how deep and heavy this is when he says the field workers. Okay. Because it's the field workers and their descendants, but not even just that. But because why? Those same people, the descendants of those people, didn't get what was promised to them, what was owed to them, left with nothing. Okay. And those descendants multiple captivities and never got what we were supposed to get. So we're just in the latter stages. Okay. Remember that when the children of Israel left Egypt, they left with spoil. They left with gold and silver, with servants of the other nations. They left with their cattle. They left with the clothes from the Egyptians. So they came out with much spoil. Let me see. Let me finish this real quick and I'm going to see if I can find another precept. Something just made me think about it. So again, look at this. The verse 4 is heavy. For listen, hear the cries of the field workers whom ye have cheated of their pay. The cries of those who harvested your fields have reached the ears of the Lord of the heavens army. Okay, remember that when you go back, and this is where understanding the Bible is very important because it's giving you a parallel. This is where a lot of these Christians, man, they cannot see the parallel. These Christians, they can't see it because again, they're not thinking about what is the Lord about. It's about saving his people. Okay, why? Because his people are afflicted. Okay, let's see if we can find this precept. So this is Exodus chapter 2, verse 23. This is in the King James Version. And it came to pass in process of time that the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel sighed by reason of the bondage. And they cried, and their cry came up unto God, the Lord of Sabaoth, okay, the Lord of heaven's army, we just read, by reason of the bondage. We are in bondage, Akim. Tells you that in Baruch. We're subject to payments. Okay. Also tells you in another book. It's as if we have holes in our bag. We get money and we don't enjoy it. Our water is sold unto us. Huh? This is all part of the bondage. The hard labor is what we're looking to get rest away from. This system is making us work harder. This is the reason why I'm kind of doing this too, because the way it is now, brothers is having to work way harder to survive. So it's actually getting really real out here now. Like brothers and sisters, people that are in the world are having to work way harder than we were 5, 6, 7 years ago because the price of goods has gone up. This is part of the bondage. Okay. Because your labor is for you to earn a wage, earn money for your survival, roof over your head, transportation, you know, energy bill, food, clothes, all these things that you need. All this stuff is being affected by the system that they created, which is what, like we read in already, fraudulent. Okay. The wages held back is by fraud. Because when you go out and work, your output of what you're working towards is earning you this wage, which value is diminishing by the month, by the year. That same money they're paying you, the value of that money is being lost, and it's being held back from you. May not even ever access because Social Security is not guaranteed. You're putting towards Social Security. They may end Social Security. You're putting it towards taxes. They're taking those same money from tax revenues and then using it to fund themselves, to fund wars, the military industrial complex, and send it overseas to countries that don't have any care for the citizens over here. So these contracts are going over to, these government contracts are being sold, and then people are getting wealthy off of that money that's coming out of your labor. That's fraudulent. Okay? This is the reason why this is happening. Okay? So let's continue going down. Verse 24. And God heard their groaning. Remember, the Lord of Sabaoth, the Lord of heaven's armies, as we read in the book of James. And God heard their groaning, and God remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. And God looked upon the children of Israel, and God had respect unto them. He didn't respect all the nations around the earth. He just respect the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the one whom he had the covenant with. See, there was other nations in Egypt, Akim. Most High wasn't thinking about them. He didn't hear their cries. He heard the cries of the children of Israel who were under heavy bondage. That's why it's important for us to cry out to the Lord to end this bondage. We have to do that. We have to pray. We have to cry out. Okay? Because as the crying out increases among those of his people that have faith, those of his people, when they begin to increase that complaint and that groaning and that anguish that they're feeling in these captivities, then he's going to remember that covenant, and he's going to have respect unto them, and he's going to what? Send his the deliverer, Yahawashi HaMashiach. Okay? Yeah. Yeah. So Nothing new under the sun, Akim. Okay, when James wrote that, he understood exactly what he was alluding to. The same thing. Okay, we're in the new Egypt. Okay, we're in the new Egypt, and under this new Egypt, we have the same things that was going on in the old Egypt. Let's keep going down, Akim. Go to James 5:5. Ye have pleasure. Okay, ye have lived. I'm gonna read both of these. Are heavy. I like both the NLT and the King James for this. We'll just read first in the King James. Ye have lived in pleasure on the earth and been wanton. Ye have nourished your hearts as in the day of slaughter. Ye have condemned and killed the just, and he doth not resist you. Stop resisting. Stop resisting. Stop resisting. Boom. That's what they do. See, these Christians, man, these alt-right Christians, these Christendoms, they don't read this Bible, man. This Bible ain't for them. Okay? See, they want to believe that the martyrs were their people. And the small hats was the ones killing. You know what I'm saying? You know, their minds is jacked up. You know what I'm saying? To my victim mentality. No, they're trying to make themselves the victim while they're the victimizers. Huh? Most High here has all throughout the Bible the oppressed. That's why I did that. Who was the oppressed? Huh? Because these people don't care about who the oppressed is. And so they keep on admitting that they're oppressed. They try to say that it's, oh, black people they're the ones attacking us. Meanwhile, Chud going around harassing Jake left and right. You see police brutality videos damn near once a week. Okay. Then you go to the comments. Who is it? Your good old neighborhood Christian talking ish. Mhm. Going to verse 5 on the NLT, James chapter 5. You have spent your years on earth in luxury. Ooh, them boys, you see them, boy. They was in Monaco. They in the Mediterranean Sea with the big mega super yachts. They in South Beach with the yachts turned up. Okay. They're at Zurich, Switzerland at a high-end ski resort. They globe trotting everywhere they want to go. Visas on demand. Don't gotta apply for no visa to travel to most countries on the planet, or get visas on demand, get all kind of extensions. You know what I'm saying? All kind of crazy stuff. Now remember, we talked about how among our people there are those that would be rich and they would enjoy some of these luxuries as well. Let's not get it twisted. Remember what Yahawashi said. You know what I'm saying? He said, woe unto you that are rich, for you have your reward. Now, you have some of these groups like GMS, well, they'll say, but that's talking about Esau, because he's the rich, we're the poor. See, a Jake like LeBron, he ain't really the rich. He rich in this world to our people, but in the eyes of Most High, he ain't really rich. Well, you could say spiritually rich versus carnally rich. Okay. Fact is that rich is rich. However, the number one people that enjoy riches, okay, in luxury is the elite. I mean, these people just posted a redacted information of satanic activities that they were doing, and none of them people got arrested. Doing what they want to, doing as thou wilt. They showed the masses that we could tell you we're doing this and you're not going to stop us. You're still going to go vote in the polls. You're still going to follow us as your leaders. Therefore, they feel now they have the right to bring evil upon you, because you, after they showed you what they were up to, you did nothing and you still believed in the system. You still out there protesting for your leader to continue ruling over you. You're still in the psychological warfare. You're ideologically subverted. Okay. That's just what it is. And they know it now. They know it. They know for a fact y'all are subverted. The masses I'm referring to, not brothers in the faith, okay, that can see in darkness, who've been illuminated. Okay. Let me see here. Yeah, so again, you have spent your years on earth in luxury, satisfying your every desire. That includes getting with children. Let's keep it a bean. Let's keep it a beanstalk. Okay, that includes them having being able to hunt humans. See, they don't even hunt regular game no more. You know, they used to go to Africa. They damn near killed off like a lot of species. The Barbary lion is extinct. Okay, that version of the lion is extinct. Then you have the other lion, which is related to it as well. Also looks the same. The Barbary lion has like a darker coat and was slightly larger than the lion you see in Africa today. But they're related lions, just in different parts of that part of the world. Okay, and those are the lions that you would see back then in the Middle East. Okay, but over time they've been hunted down, taken by the Romans. The Romans basically damn near wiped out a lot of the Barbary lions because they used to have them fighting in the Colosseums. Okay, so you even see pictures of them hunting elephants and rhinos in Africa and lions, and you've seen the outrage like on places like Facebook back in the day, even till now, where you'll see these photos and people will lose it, right? So that's part of their desires, to do these stupid type of things, right? The elites graduated to higher levels when it comes to hunting humans. Now, if you go back to the Yugoslavia crisis, Serbia, those areas back in the 90s, when that war was going on, the ethnic violence that was going on over in the former Yugoslav, especially between, like, I think the Serbians, the Croatians, the ethnic Albanians, the elites went over there to get access to kids. This is documented. The kids was missing in those regions. You had a bunch of missing kids that was missing because of that. Because there's the opportunity for them to go and take these kids, do what they want with them. Then also another thing that they were doing, they had places where they can go and hunt. I believe they were hunting Serbians that were in the field. So they would go and be walking around, and the elites would be in certain hills, and they would shoot these people as they were just going about doing their business, because they were saying you can come here and hunt. Real heavy stuff. You know what I'm saying? Just look it up. Look up, you can go on Reddit forums. They'll send you links. You can see videos about the hunting of human beings. You can even see this in the game, the movie called Surviving the Game. Surviving the Game, I believe that was with Ice-T, where he was basically, was being hunted throughout the movie by these elites who were hunting human beings. And I believe there's even a scene there where he goes into one of the cabins and they had like the heads of different people that they had already taken out. Pretty much like you would see like a deer, like a buck being hung up on the wall. So people don't understand how heavy this is, the desires that they were able to fulfill. Okay? The carnal desires. Remember that the elites are carnal. They seek out carnal pleasures, and they test out their limitations so they can feel different things. Okay, and these things that they do gets them closer to who? To Satan, as was mentioned earlier. Okay, who's the spiritual ruler of the world, right? He is the Lord and ruler of the world in a spiritual sense. Okay, so there's a reason why they dabble into the occult. Fool, they know they're in it, man, because there's symbolism all over the world. Okay, their symbolism bears witness against them. Okay, 6-point star on the flag, the Pentagon with the pentagram, the Baphomet. Okay, the different idols, the Ala Minerva, Bohemian Grove, so on and so forth, bro. We can go on and on about this. Okay, the Eye of Providence, the all-seeing eye. Okay, Novus Olim Secorium. Okay, which, you know, when y'all look at that dollar bill, you know that Novus Ovus Secorium on that dollar bill, what does that mean? That's what it means. Okay? So there's levels to this, man. Got to understand. You can't be ignorant. Continuing on. You have fattened yourselves for the day of slaughter. You have condemned and killed innocent people who do not resist you. Okay? That's the big aspect. People are not resisting you and you're killing them. See, when people fight back, they know that they may die, but they're willing to fight back to protect themselves, to fight for what they believe in. But imagine people that's not even resisting you and you're still deciding to kill them. You can see what's going on. We see the videos. Y'all brothers have seen the videos that's going on in the Holy Land. I think what is understood does not need to be explained. They actually take out people who actually don't want to resist them all the time. Well, they take out pregnant women, kids. They don't give a dang. Okay? And this is where we're at in the world. We've reached a point in the world where people who were raised to be told about what happened from 1939 to 1945 that happened to them peoples, that this should not happen again. And then they went and did it. And then it was broadcasted in 4K. Not only can you see it on your TV in 4K, people got phones. You got billions of people that have phones around the world seeing the same thing. But there's nothing being done to stop it. But we know the reason why the Most High is allowing it to happen, because he had to show you who is the son of perdition, who's the wicked ruler of the world. Esau, Edom, had to be known. Okay, it had to be made manifest, be made plain upon tables, like it says in Habakkuk. Okay. Let me go ahead and continue reading. We're going to go back to the NLT, the King James on this, James chapter 5, and finish off. Okay. Be patient, therefore, brethren, unto the coming of the Lord. Behold, the husbandman waiteth for the precious fruit of the earth, and hath long patience for it, until he receive the early and latter rain. Be ye also patient, establish your heart, for the coming of the Lord draweth nigh. Grudge not one against another, brethren, lest ye be condemned. Behold, the judge standeth before the door. Take, my brethren, the prophets, who have spoken in the name of the Lord, for an ensample of suffering, affliction, and of patience. Behold, we count them happy which endure. Ye have heard of the patience of Job, and have seen the end of the Lord, that the Lord is very pitiful and of tender mercy. Okay? So we understand the patience of Job in these times. Understand that the Lord can bring us down with the intentions of lifting us up even higher than where we were, which we have to be very mindful of that in these last days. Because the times that we're coming into is getting harder and harder, and it's by design. But the Most High will see through those that have faith in him and that endure and that take hold unto righteousness in his son, Yahawashi HaMashiach. So hopefully this is edifying to you, brothers and sisters. And again, I want to give all glory and praises to our Heavenly Father, Yahweh. And we do so in the name of our Lord and Savior, Yahawashi. Grace and mercy be abound to the hopeful that scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Shalom.